All right, welcome everyone to Strategy Talks hosted by Franco. Today we joined here with Nili and MaSmOrRa, and we're going to be talking about various topics and hopefully having a nice conversation, a friendly debate between peers. And for newer players, especially newer players like me, this will be a good way to learn more about the game and understand a bit more about why more experienced players have the thoughts that they do. Because sometimes it can be confusing. So to open, let's get an introduction from MaSmOrRa.
Yeah, right. So I believe most of your audience is not going to be familiar with me. And if you haven't been around for more than, let's say, 5 or 6 years, you probably never heard my name, and that's perfectly fine. So I used to be like a moderator on Bully. Do you guys even know what Bully is, actually? Franco, does that?
I played it
Put a one in the chat if
once.
you know what Woobly is.
I played one game on Voobly.
You play one game on Vuli. That's good. Right. So I guess I should explain that too. Or yeah. So Vuli was just the platform that everybody was using before DE came out, and that's where most professional players were playing. And that was basically just a server where everybody could connect to. You could create a lobby, people would join it, and you would get a game. And that's why if you are used to hearing people complain about the fact that we don't have lobbies anymore and they are not ranked, that's because they're used to ranked lobbies and they cannot handle the fact that they are not there anymore. Anyway, so I used to be a moderator on Voobly, and I was very much involved in the organization of most of the big events happening between 2013 and 2016 from the top of my head. And back in those days, there weren't really any specific rules. So it was just three guys, so three of us, and we did basically everything. We did rules, we streamed, we chased players to make sure they schedule on time. We tried to get recorded games. So that's what I used to do.
Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction, MaSmOrRa and Nili. Uh,
God.
for those in the audience that don't know who you are.
What an offensive question. What an
Nelson
offensive
is
question,
selling
my friend.
himself so short.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone for a longer introduction. Like, he
Oh.
was responsible for the biggest Age of Empires tournament ever hosted, right? Was coming, he was around. Then Maledives, the main admin, flying in there, stealing stuff from other streamers.
Oh,
And
wow. I completely forgot about
like
that one.
Nelson and I did cast in on the Maledives. Like, I was looking up to him. He was so professional doing like pre-recorded interview or intros before he went into the streams. And like, I was really starstruck the first time we did cast together. And he was like, "Yeah, I was in the old days and such." Tournament organizer. I'm a top 50 player in the world. I'm a commentator for like different events, and yeah, I have been around the scene for a very long time. When there was Woobly times, I was part of the first Woobly official casting team. I was one of the first guys ever cast Age of Empires online, and well, one of most influential people probably in the Age of Empires world that we have right now.
So just for everyone at home, we have four topics. We're gonna start with: do tournaments focus too much on the top 16 players? Each person will have up to 5 minutes to just give their introductory points, and then we will open to a back and forth discussion between the two. I will hopefully not have to talk too much, but I may just intervene if one player is just talking for a little bit too long, and we need to hear some responses or just making too many points in a row. And without further ado, we're gonna have MaSmOrRa open. The topic is: do tournaments focus too much on the top 16 players?
Okay, I didn't know about the 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna run over or really behind it. But anyway, yeah. So before I start answering the question, I just want to make it clear that, and I'm pretty sure Neely and I agree on this, that the competitive scene these days is in a much better place than it was just 3 years, but 3 years ago, or even in the years before that. I mean, Neely just mentioned the Maldives tournament, the WSVG. That was in 2015, Neely, was it?
Maldives feels like maybe even could be there.
2015.
WSBG
And I believe in the final, it was me and you casting.
15. Yeah.
15, yeah. There you go. It was me and you casting, I believe, with Jordan too. And we got a grand total of 2,500 viewers on the Twitch stream, which was absolutely unheard of around that time. And now we're on a much different level. Of course, we have 66,000 viewers, I believe it was, for the Hidden Cup. So something major has obviously happened. And when that's the case, then whatever critique I may have or not have, it's always going to be from this perspective that I'm fully aware that whatever we have done and whatever we're doing is obviously working and we're doing a good job. But yeah, so I do not think the tournaments focus too much on the top 16 players. And for much of the past history of the competitive scene in Age of Empires 2, there was really no incentive in trying to get good at the game. So if anyone just really became good at it, it was because out of sheer talent, out of passion for the game, just because they're from a very competitive nature. So money never really played a role in getting good at the game. That's pretty obvious. I mean, I remember hearing Viper say this many, many times on his stream, actually, that before, when he was getting really good and climbing the ladder, he would face many times Chris and Doubt, who during those years were like the top players. And he would get destroyed every single time. And he said he would get really angry because of that. But still, next day he would be there again, trying to defeat them one more time and failing again until he wasn't failing anymore. And now, luckily, these days, we indeed can offer some financial return to people who become really good at the game. And it's gotten to the point where we have like 5, 6, 7 players who can actually make a living out of playing, streaming, creating content for Age of Empires 2. This is totally unthinkable for anyone just 3, 4, or 5 years ago. But despite all the progress, I believe these are still just a handful of people. So yesterday, I just went through a couple of profiles in esports earnings, and I looked at some of the profiles from people who finished in the bottom from the top 16 in Hidden Cup. I hope that was clear. So you got the top 16, like people who finished 9th through 16th. I just checked their profiles. And what I saw, of course, the earnings sort of differ a little bit from player to player, but what I saw is that on average, each player made roughly $10,000 in 2020 from tournament money alone. And I assume that's before taxes. And again, just to make it clear, these are players like Barles, Vivi, Velez, Jogon, Nikov, maybe. And now I'm aware $10,000 can mean a lot of different things for different parts of the world. I'm perfectly aware of that. But for most Western societies, you can't really justify making a career out of only playing Age of Empires 2 if you're only making and I say this very respectfully, only making $10,000 a year. And so at the moment, what we have is a top 16 divided in two, basically. We got the top 5, 6, 7 players who all of them can justify from a financial and economical standpoint, they can all justify playing the game 8 hours a day, every single day, getting better and better and better and better. And then we have a group of players who are very close in skill, but can't really justify just because of a financial reasons. They can't justify playing the game, dedicating themselves full time to playing the game. And what this is going to do, if this doesn't change in the near future, is the skill gap just going to keep widening because this first group plays every day, all day. The other group doesn't because they've got college, they got work, they got whatever. So, and I'm about to conclude. If in this environment you start diverting funds from the players who are finishing the top 16 and you start investing those funds into players who are not in the top 16 and are below that, what I'm afraid is that you are going to create a dynamic where being right below the top 16 or on the top 16 doesn't really make a difference. And then again, this is just going to keep widening the gap between these players and the top 5 who are playing every day, the whole day. So in my opinion, what needs to happen before we can concentrate in all the players below the top 16 is we need to create the conditions for players in the top 16 to dedicate themselves to the game fully, full time. And that would mean they would always keep the top 5 on their toes, because if they, for whatever reason, stop playing for a couple of weeks, they could come back to the game only to find that those guys that were below them are now above them because they kept playing while they were not playing. And so this is just, but again, I don't feel really strongly about this. This is just, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here.
Well, MaSmOrRa, thank you for even if it's not like a strong opinion, that's kind of adding that kind of devil's advocate, to the discussion because even on some of these topics, even if we're all kind of in agreement, it's still good to have a debate about it. So because we might find new things, we might discover new things that we didn't consider before. And you're doing good on time. About 6 minutes, so that's fine. Nili, could we hear from you now?
Okay, we'll be less structured and more all over the place.
That's fine.
So the tournaments focus too much on top 16 players. The thing is, let's say we do focus on the top 24 more and be more inclusive there. Then we have the next debate in half a year. Aren't we focusing too much on the top 24, right? There's always that debate. Like German soccer, the first league gets so much more. Are we only supporting the top 500 players enough? What are we doing to further get people in there? What really bothers me is look at Hidden Cup 4, for example, 9th to 16th. So you didn't win a single game, you got an invitation, or you qualified and lost in the first round. You get $3,000. If you lost the last qualification round, you get $200. I think that gap makes it really, really ugly for so many people. But also it gives the incentive to make that jump happen. And I kind of disagree. I think we have seen so many people coming out of kind of nowhere that are now coming in. We have so many people only playing for 1 year and suddenly contesting those top 20, top 30, right? We've seen so many people that we haven't seen 2 years ago and suddenly making it into the Red Bulls, into Hidden Cup, and like making it deep in tournaments. So I think you can still make those jumps. The big question is who do we want to make responsible? Because if I host a show match between number 9 and number 10 in the world, whoever that is, let's say Veles Doubt, right? Random names. I will get 3,000 viewers, random numbers. If I host a show match between number 40 and 41, let's say, I don't even know who that is. Let's say Bling against Running.
Not gonna include yourself there? Come on, man.
I have 600 viewers, right? It's just such a big difference on how people tune in. So you want to stretch those top 16. You want to have them because people are simply tuning in. And right now we are in a spot where people have basically no exhaustion, right? You can have them play every single day. And if I'm the tournament organizer, I'm the host, I want to have those top 16 players play every single time. And because it creates the better viewer numbers, right? For example, look at Euro Rumble. The tournament basically focused, I would say, around like number 20 to number 50 out of all Europeans, right? Or let's say, if we only look at Europeans, like 10 to 40. Incredibly good tournament. Great maps, great settings, diverse strategies. No one watched it. Right? The big names weren't there. People weren't interested. People weren't streaming. No one except out of the French community actually watched that one. So right now, I can't fault any tournament host for not including those. And that's only talking about those, like, let's say people that are trying to make the jump, right? For the number 30 till number 100 in the world, because there are massive amount of mid-elo, low-elo tournaments. And we saw that Red Bull Open qualifiers, so people can participate. I think that obviously there's always a line where we will draw, like, getting lots of money and getting a bit of money. And at the moment it's number 16, but it's, I think, pretty random.
Okay. Well, thank you for that contribution, Nili. MaSmOrRa, anything that Nili had to say there that you would like to possibly respond to?
You're right. So I totally understand a couple of the points that Nili made, and I just kind of ask a couple of questions myself. Um, so you said for Hidden Cup 4 that someone who just made it to the top 16 that was basically invited, right? I think that's the point you were making. They weren't automatically invited. They didn't win a single game. They still made $3,000. And then someone who fought really hard to get there and didn't make it through, that someone would make a lot less money. I think that's the point you were making, right? So the thing is, what I believe is if you view it in that way, you're sort of forgetting what happened before. So if someone is invited to a Hidden Cup, it's not arbitrary. It's not like T90 just invites someone out of nothing. So those players have done something really good before, right? So they either finished top 8 in the Hidden Cup before, or I don't know, have been playing for a long time, and therefore they are really skilled and deserve to be invited. So I think there's just more happening. You can't just, in my opinion, you can't just say, well, they didn't win a single game and therefore they shouldn't be rewarded as much, or at least the difference shouldn't be as big. What I'm trying to say is I believe even if these guys only won one game or didn't even win a single game, they've done a lot before, right? And this is something that you see in other sports too, right? That you need to make sure that it's not only the last event that counts, but it's what you have done in the recent past that counts, right? Because everyone can have a bad day.
What I actually wanted to say was the jump from qualifying and not qualifying is massive, right? If you're like not invited players, the guys that qualified, 3K, the guys that didn't qualify, $200. And it's a difference of sometimes one single game. And I think we need to get flatter there. We need to be not that top heavy, right? What do we have? We had KOTD is 34% for first, and we get like really small monies also. Like it is nice that we now pay something for qualifiers, right? And I obviously with NACs are very heavy for the top 6, top 8. So I think we even in the big tournaments should simply go deeper. Then I asked Red Bull, let's give something for the qualifiers, and they now decided for all the packages and like the personal branding, so no money there. But it's still all the cutoff, right? And let's talk about soccer again. The biggest financial game in all soccer, it's not the World Cup finals, it's not Champions League finals. It's actually the qualification game if you make it into the Premier League or not. Because that simply puts you into the top 20 in the most important league. And then you're in that kind of inner circle and get so much money. And I think if we want to have it a bit better and a bit more fair, or like more mild for people not getting that last jump, we just need to be more flat with our payout structure.
Okay, so the money isn't getting more, right? So if Microsoft tells T90 and tells you they're sponsoring, I don't know, $50,000 for a tournament, and you say you actually want to make sure that you give players who either don't make it or lose right in the first round, you want to make sure that those guys are rewarded too. They're not going to give you more money, right? So if you want to accomplish that people finishing in the lower ranks, you will have to take money from the top spots, right? That's what needs to happen, right? Okay, so my question is then again, if you're gonna take money from those that are already not making enough, at least in my view, what's gonna happen again? What's that gonna do with the players who are still not there, where they can justify to play Age of Empires full time? What's that going to do with those players? Because they are going to be getting less money. If you want to give more money to the players who don't get that far, what's that going to do with them? Because the players finishing in the top 5, they are still going to be able to make a living out of Age of Empires. They're still going to be playing full time. They're still going to be getting better and better and better. And if you can't guarantee that someone finishing in the top 16 has this thing of full-time Age of Empires playing as a viable career path available to them, what's that going to do with the competitive scene? I believe that's just going to create an even bigger gap between players who are in that zone, in the top 16 or right below, and players who get to play Age of Empires full time. Well, and I'm generally curious here. What you think? You think that that jump can still be made if you're not playing as much as the top 5 players?
Like I draw the line differently, right? I think we have like 20 full-time players right now. Like there's so many, and like yeah,
You think there are 20 players who actually can live full time from Age of Empires?
well, like not from prize money, but from including streaming. Yeah. Like,
20
should we go
players.
through them or?
I mean, you obviously know more than I in that
Like
respect.
obviously,
That's
all
pretty
6GL
obvious.
members, right? Everyone in AM and Tempo could live of it. We have 2 Chinese people. We have Casva living of it right now. We could have others, like everyone who basically has like 500 subs can live of it. And we obviously then have the streamers, right? So, and if you live in let's say in Asian country, it's so much easier, right? ACCM needs $500, so he can easily, let's say, live with 200 subs. So I think more people could make the jump there quite easily. And I think there are probably more and more people attempting. Like I see small streamers like sub goal 600 to become full time, and it's not unrealistic nowadays, I would say, with how the game is growing. And also now that's the question, like, do we consider people that are in school and dedicating a lot of time into it, are they full-time or not, right? Because MBL technically has a job, and like Hera was studying and everyone said no, he's not a full-time streamer. Like 2,500 subs.
I remember, yeah, I remember someone, I think it was in his Twitch channel, or Hera's Twitch channel, was kind of hilarious. He was saying, yeah, no, Hera's not a pro because he hasn't won a tournament. This was before Hidden Cup 4, obviously. He's not a pro because he hasn't won a, he's never won a tournament. It was just like, are you sure, man? Anyway, well, that's kind of a very optimistic take, and I'm happy that you say that, because I mean, again, when I just went through the esports earning pages from some of these people like Velez, Dogal, I don't see them streaming 8 hours a day. And I don't, so maybe they can practice when they're not streaming. I don't know that, of course. But a lot of these players, I just don't see them actually being involved with Age of Empires 2 full time. And that might as well just be that they are not interested in it. And I just sort of made the assumption that it's not viable for them to just be this dedicated to the game.
It obviously depends on the personality, right? I think the Finns are struggling a bit more than with presenting themselves that much. Like I'm obviously struggling way less with that. And I think the less is streaming like 3 hours per day, I would say, as an average. And then just think about, maybe it's like, well, you're working full time, so he's more like the German time, 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. streamer. Just think about people like Fire. Few streams, but massive support. I think he constantly has above 500, 600 subs. So I think if you put yourself out there and just stream your ladder games, I think it's easy for Dogao to make a living of that. But obviously it's the question, like, do you want to commit that much in your life? I think we slowly, like, I don't want to be the host, but I think if we want to address more topics, we kind of need to move on in some form, though.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Nili. We've
I'm
we
actually
spent
sorry to interrupt you, but
Go
I'm
on.
actually, I mean, the next topic, the one about if you need to do more about players outside the top 16, is kind of the same, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, we actually started to address the second topic. As you said, do we need to do more for players outside of the top 16? So I think maybe we could continue on this thread a bit more. Maybe if you guys just want to take a pause and maybe do a like a uh, like a hard hitting point, and then we just kind of go from there.
I don't know, man. I'm actually, I'm kind of happy that I've heard this from Nili, that he
Oh,
believes
you
like we got like 20 people or even more that he
good?
believes can make it full time, and I'm actually very happy to hear that. I thought it was a lot less people, and again, I come from a time when becoming a full-time Age of Empires streamer, player, content creator is just totally unthinkable. And these days there are just so many people, and that's great. That's great to hear, actually.
Yeah.
Great.
So Nelly, you said so you do agree that we need to do more for players outside of the top 16. Could you just like give us like what do you think exactly? Like I don't know, the community or the developers, like what do we need to do
Flatter,
more for them and who needs to do it?
flatter payout structure, tournament hosts.
So you're including yourself in that, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But then again, you made the point that if you do that, and if you start organizing tournaments for people who are outside of the top 16, that you won't get as many viewers. So, I mean, and I
Yeah, but
totally understand that.
It's just like take away, let's say, Hidden Cup main event. What was the split there? Let's say I think it was like
First was
4.5K for all qualifiers and 70K for the main event. If you do 60K for the main event and 15K for the qualifiers, everyone gets triple the amount in the qualifiers, and it's so much more worth to make it deep there, and no one would know the difference. If you make like 2.9 instead of 3.2K, you won't know if
Yeah,
you're
I
in the
guess
main event.
that's a fair point. I guess we can just sort of decrease the gap between the payouts. And I mean, I believe the first place got $18,000. Is that right?
Sounds right, yeah.
That's
17,
quite
yeah.
it's quite an incredible amount. I believe second place was like 10,000. But are you saying that we should also take a slice from those prizes and include them for the lower ranks, or would you keep the top prizes as they are right now?
No, especially at the top, right? Just think about for Doubt, after he won Red Bull, he got $1,000 donation. He got endless amount of support. After Jordan got second in Hidden Cup, he got like 700 gifted subs in the next 20 minutes. Like people get so much support, and you will be invited for more show matches. I think you won't mind getting 20% less if you win, right? The win itself just pushes you so much more into that thing. I think it will rarely make a difference for your life or for your career how much money there was for first place if the whole prize pool was massive anyways.
Yeah, interesting point. Really interesting.
Okay, well thanks for the responses to topic number 2. I think that's a good point to end off and go into the next topic, which is tournaments to focus on casters instead of players. And perhaps maybe Nili wants to lead off on this one since MaSmOrRa had the opportunity to open with the last one. Or you can
I think yes, but it can't be changed right now. Okay, if you think about, let's just stay with my soccer analogies. If you watch the World Cup finals, do you care at all who's commentating? No, you want to see Brazil against Argentina or whatever. But in Age of Empires, we see if Viper is playing against Hera, and let's say it was suddenly Nelson casting that on the official Red Bull channel, people would mass spam, where is T90? Where is Dave? And people would be like, I can't enjoy this. What is happening? So people are extremely focused on who is casting. Multiple reasons. First of all, Age of Empires right now is still a streaming game, less of an esports, right? Streams are designed around the personalities there, and we are slowly moving away from that. So that is tricky. And also, the level of casting is so incredibly low in Age of Empires. And I've been saying it for so long. So few people are putting in the work, how to improve in their casting, what they should do, what could be done better. And that's why tournaments have to be so picky who is casting, and viewers can be so picky who am I watching and who is casting. Because if we had, let's say, 5 people of the quality of T90, then they could switch around and we could like completely forget who is actually calling the action and we could focus on the play. But right now, there is basically one Monopoly streamer that is that good, and that you kind of have to include if you want to have a successful Age of Empires tournament. And right now, there's no alternative around that.
Yeah, MaSmOrRa, do you want to respond directly to Nili, or maybe just give your own points?
Yeah, I guess I'll just say what I was planning on saying, because it again, so I believe they definitely tournaments definitely focus too much on casters. First, to varying degrees, not all tournaments focus too much on casters, in my opinion. And as Neely said, and I agree, I'm not sure that's even a bad thing. Because I mean, in Age of Empires 2, we're right now in this awkward position, and probably kind of unique position, where casters are the ones organizing the big events, right? And now ultimately the goal of a caster with a Twitch channel is obviously to keep growing his on her channel or her channel, and keep growing her brand or his brand. And that means that the caster is always going to organize a tournament in a way that so the settings are always going to reflect what the caster likes to see and what he believes his audience likes to see, right? Now, of course, when a big tournament is successful, it benefits everyone. The viewership is good. More people are involved in the game. More people start playing the game. More sponsors, bigger prize pools. Everybody's happy. But again, let's just take a look at Hidden Cup 4, for example, which I had a blast watching. I loved watching it. And every time there's a Hidden Cup announced, I always think, wow, this gimmicky thing with the hidden identities. But then everything starts, and I just enjoy it immensely watching. But anyway, so Hidden Cup, by virtue of its settings, is obviously a tournament that doesn't allow players to prepare themselves for matches against their opponents, because, well, they don't know who they're playing against. And they also cannot check recorded games of their opponents, because recorded games are released only at the end of the tournament. And I mean, something which, in my opinion, is quite absurd, and we had it this time around, is that players were even forced to play in servers that were bad for both, just for the sake of keeping the identities hidden. And now, of course, everybody's allowed to do what you want with this tournament, but you can't tell me that this is putting the players first. This is quite obviously a caster putting his preferences and what he thinks is good for his channel and his brand first. And again, that's absolutely fine. I'm definitely not criticizing that. But it's not just Hidden Cup 4. I mean, let's take a look at. I believe NAC is actually pretty much the best tournament in this regard. With very balanced settings, different maps. But anyway, if you take a look at Kingdom of the Desert, which is organized by Mem, someone who I love watching too, and who I've known for many, many years. So Mem famously does not like water maps. He does not like to play them. He does not like to watch them. And as a consequence, his signature tournament is an Arabia-only tournament. And then again, it's not only just Arabia, it's a version of Arabia where the maps are really open. The games are very action-packed, because again, Mem is one who likes to say, I want to see action from the first second. And again, that's totally fine. But it's just I'm just trying to get the point across that it's pretty obvious that when a caster organizes a tournament, he's going to do it in a way that he likes to see the tournament, and that is not necessarily the same as what the players would like to play. Then there's also the issue with qualification stages and rating caps for who gets to sign up. I mean, again, let me just go back to the WSVG tournament. Do you know how many people signed up for that tournament? That was 2015, well before the competitive scene was this big and this good. Do you know how many people signed up for that tournament, Nili? Just out of a curiosity, I just checked it before.
478.
Not quite.
Oh.
It was like 230 people. But then again, how many people do you think signed up for Hidden Cup 4?
Well, they knew there was a 64 people cap, right? So you don't want to sign up.
Well, there you go. That's, again, not focusing on the players, right?
Red Bull, we had 700.
Again, Red Bull did it well, but even Red Bull. Well, Red Bull is not a caster, so we're kind of not talking about Red Bull here, right? But that's just the point I'm trying to get across, right? That if you have a tournament that focuses on players, you're probably going to have a qualification stage that's fully open. Everybody gets to sign up. Everybody gets to play at least one game. Now, again, I totally understand someone with a channel does not really want to do this. It takes a lot of time and effort, money. The games are probably not very interesting. That's pretty obvious to me. So again, just to make it clear, I think it's pretty obvious tournaments focus too much on casters, but it's not clear to me that this is a bad thing. I mean, it's just the way our game is structured at the moment, which I think leads to this. And also, it's kind of funny to me because it's just another thing that I think happens when a tournament focuses more on players. Do you know how many home maps we had for the WSVG, Nili?
I know that I think there was one Nations Cup where we had over 40 home maps.
Yeah, something like that.
WSVG.
Oh, again, you got it. It was like 20 or 30, and I mean, that's just how things were done, right? I mean, you had basically game one Arabia, then you had hidden saves, no repeats. There was no drafting, and it was just home maps, right? It was home maps, home map from the loser, and that's how things were done, and that's the kind of settings that the players enjoyed. Obviously, these days we get like maybe nine home maps, but then again, the scripts of some of those maps were really quite horrible sometimes, and players just didn't seem to care that much either if a map was kind of unfair. I mean, these days, again, quite unthinkable just a few years back. We have an island map where the exact number of wood in both islands needs to be the same. That's so totally unthinkable just a couple of years ago. Yeah, again, so I think it's pretty obvious. Turbines do focus a lot on casters, maybe too much, maybe not. I don't know. But at the moment, I believe that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, so Nili, well, MaSmOrRa had a lot of speaking time there. I don't know if anything in
I'm so
particular that
sorry,
he
man.
said.
You should have interrupted me.
No, it's fine. I wanted to hear all your points, but Nelly, any one of his points in particular that you think you are in like complete disagreement with? Anyone to respond to?
I think it's very tricky, and we should move on because I think Nelson and I understood the question completely differently. I was
Okay.
talking about casters, and he was more speaking about tournament organizers.
Okay.
And I try to separate the Nili
Right.
talking with the Nili organizing.
Okay. That's good.
So, yeah,
All right.
I think it's a bit different.
Yeah. So we'll move on
Like
to the next question. I did have one thing I maybe wanted to ask you, Nelly. Well, considering that age is like a growing esport, it's a growing game, and the decisions we make now will definitely impact like how well it grows in the future. Do you think like the current focus on casters will be of the best benefit for AoE in the long run, or do you think that there is actually something else that we should try to be doing?
It's bad, but there's no alternative.
Okay.
Because like the alternative is to get B and C tier casters into the big events, but people like the feedback will be worse, right?
Yeah.
Just think about if like we would, as I said, like let's go just with the example, right? Even if I'm a big fan of Nelson's casting, but if Nelson is casting Red Bull, people would go bananas, and someone in Red Bull will be like, "What's happening here? Why is the chat going wild? Why are we seeing mass AoEs on topics about this, right?" And it's just like people have to get that good that we could include them. For example, Dash, someone who could always jump in, did co-cast with me, did co-cast with T90, completely unknown, but the quality was so high that no one did mind. So we just need a very competent second and third row of casters that could fill up, and then we won't have this huge caster debate anymore and can finally focus on event organizing and the good play.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, we do have one more topic, which is a show matches or tournaments better, and when should they each be used? Now, both of you more or less had like similar thoughts on the topic. So maybe we should just hear a bit about from each of you what you both have to say, and from the responses, we'll see where we can go with it. And I would invite MaSmOrRa to start off on this one.
Mhm. Well, I mean, just the question: are tournaments better or show matches better? It's kind of hard to say. I think we need them both. And I think it's just it's kind of, again, funny to remark that a show match today could field a prize pool as big as a major event just a couple of years ago. I mean, I think it was last week, there was this challenge show match between, what was it? Was it Viper and Hero, which was a $5,000 show match. I mean, that's a major prize pool from 5 years ago, right? So even there, the lines can get kind of blurred. What's a show match? What's a tournament? I mean, of course, in tournaments you include more players, but yeah, I believe we need both. And if there's just one criticism that I would do, and again, I would know how to solve this, is that these show matches are featuring the same players over and over again. And if there would be a way to make sure that, well, maybe some of the players below the top 16 could get featured in some of these show matches, things could be maybe more interesting and better for the community. But again, I believe the people sponsoring these show matches, they're not as much, and again, this is no critique, it's just the way it is. I don't think they are really trying to help the community per se. They see a streamer they like and they say, okay, so you want to play, they like to see them play. They say, so you want to play a show match right now? And so again, that's the people who get to play in the show matches are the people who are already the most famous streamers and the most famous players. An ideal world, what I would like to see is an organization or a person of a good and great reputation in the community to sort of try to contact all these people who like to donate to show matches, and either start organizing himself or herself these show matches to make sure it includes different people, different settings. I believe someone like Roa would be absolutely fantastic for something like this. But again, this is really probably hard to accomplish because people donating for these show matches, they just like to see the players or the streamers that they like playing, and they are not necessarily interested in supporting the community in general.
Okay,
So that's kind of
thank
my
you for
thoughts.
that, MaSmOrRa. Nili?
I think we have to differentiate between show match and tournament. Viper, I just talked about him today, said nothing is serious if you don't train for it. Because we have WDC, for example, now $6,600 tournament. I don't think anyone will train. It's not high on the priority list for the guys. If, let's say, Boa was around $50,000 prize pool, people would train off stream. Hidden Cup people train off stream. Those are the big tournaments, and that's where it really matters. And we should make a big difference there. And show matches, I think, like, if I ever host a show match, it will have two categories: either fun show match or serious show match. Serious show match, those people show up, they play their very best, play what they think is meta, or give themselves the best winning chance and give it their all. Or we have the funky, gimmicky show matches. But I think we should just start to categorize them, because I don't like the move that we have in show matches, that people are giving lots of dollars, inviting the top players, thinking about settings, and then players don't care because the money is too small, or it's only Wednesday evening, or it is not a tournament. Like, I think we need to see, as I said, either the full commitment and then we have a competitive show match, or we have a fun thing, which are more show matches. But also we already are seeing that even tournaments aren't taken seriously anymore, right? WDC, we went in, we didn't know the maps. Will we know the maps for the next round? Only the ones we already played. It's like, people got so spoiled because, yeah, as Nelson said, like if you make 3.5K on a Wednesday evening, how much can you focus on a tournament where your expected value is like $400, and that's over several dates? We have Jordan winning 11K in Hidden Cup. How focused can he be for two pulls? It's just like we have to. That's what like Liquipedia is doing, right? We have to consider S tier tournaments are the ones where everyone is going 100% try hard, and those are the ones where we have to measure people. And Viper winning all those $500 tournaments, yeah, it is nice, but it's not cementing any part of his legacy, I would say.
So, MaSmOrRa, I have a question I'd like to pose, but before I get to that, do you have any response to Nili?
Yeah, I'm just interested in knowing. I agree with everything Nili said. I'm
Right.
just interested in knowing how does he see? Do you see a possibility of somehow getting all these people who like to donate for show matches, getting them together, and somehow getting them to trust their money to someone in the community and get that someone to organize show matches with a bit more purpose? Either what you say, you make, let's say, one show match was really competitive with a lot of money, or you make smaller show matches where only players from under the top 16 are invited. Is that viable? Do you see that happening?
That's exactly what Robo wanted to do, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
Okay.
sure if
you mentioned
didn't
that.
you know about it? That
I
was
did
one
know
of his
about it. He
projects.
asked me. He asked me. I will donate for that 100%. I mean, I'm just one guy, and I definitely don't have the financial power of someone like B Dot or Matt Salsa, who keeps donating those big buckaroos. And I'm just wondering, do you think it's viable? Would those guys be interested in actually not just supporting specific streamers and players that they like, but to support the community in general?
I think it's not viable at all. I think it's a nice idea, but like we could do an experiment if we had more time. Like I'm coming up with 10 show match ideas, and you coming up with 10 show match ideas. How many would overlap, and with how many would both of us be happy? I would assume something like 3. So in 7 show matches each, one of us will be unhappy with how our money got spent, right? Because it's either they're the top players that I see every day, or they're the weak players that I can't care. Like I personally don't want to see anyone below the top 100 play. Like I don't like I couldn't cast my own game if I wasn't playing myself, because I can't stand the massive amount of mistakes and the not perfect play and the imperfect build orders and such, right? So I want to see the top players, and so I think it will be tricky, right? And what is if we include water maps? What if we include too many land maps? I think it's just people won't be happy, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's really hard to change the way things are. I mean, if Robo really comes forward, I mean, I think he made it public, his intention, right? And maybe you guys can. I mean, I'm kind of dreaming here, but maybe you guys can get in contact with those people who like to donate to your channels and ask them, well, how would you feel about supporting the community a little bit more, donating for a couple of show matches for different people, and who knows what happens,
Yeah. So well, thanks for both of you for pointing it out. Robo is actually in the chat, and this is something that
Wow, hello, Robo.
yeah, there's actually something that I know he's mentioned before, and maybe if I could just stick it out there as well. Maybe perhaps I don't know how much disagreement or agreement there is even amongst like the top 10, 20 players who the big funders do put their money behind, but if there's some commonality in their thoughts here, maybe they can perhaps like approach the funders and just kind of say, well, we have this idea we wanted to try out X, Y, and Z. We trust Robo, we trust Nili, we trust Nelson. And that could be one way that we get about it. But because we have so much agreement here, I just want to just move on to something else. And Andorra91 in the comments had mentioned that from what he sees, it seems like show matches are really just for content for channels, and tournaments are really where people like think about player skills and who's really is the best. Do you, like if in both of you's perception, do you actually think that like show matches are really not given that sort of respect as the perception is out there now? And any
I
one of
think
you could.
that's 100% true. I mean, Nili said it, and we can see it all the time. I mean, sometimes as players will even try their masterpieces or and their weird little strategies that they would never do in a serious tournament, and we see that all the time. So it's pretty obvious to me that players are not taking some of these show matches seriously. But then again, I'm not sure if this is bothering the people sponsoring because they keep doing it and players like it. It's good for their channels. So I'm not sure anyone is unhappy with the way things are right now.
Okay. All right. Nelly, you have anything you want to say about that before we move on?
I think show matches are a bit more for other stuff. I think it's just people want to see other stuff. For example, I'm getting approached by a guy. Oh, I created this map. Could you ask 2 top players to play there? I will pay $100. And I just said like, no, I'm not interested. But he really wanted me to cast. But I said like, yeah, I wouldn't be behind it. So show matches could have a lot of other aspects to it, and it's not necessarily channel growth, right?
Right.
But also I got contacted like, yeah, I want to really see those 2 players. Take those dollars, and I made some of those show matches happen. So sometimes it is a fan wishing, but obviously I never got contacted, cast someone out of those 2, and I didn't know those 2, right? It's always a top 20, top 30 player, most likely top 5.
Okay. And I saw an interesting comment on Reddit. Someone mentioned like Ginba from Reddit mentioned that they'd love to see like an official world tournament organized by Microsoft to like determine like the official champion, or like the official this guy is the best, or this guy or gal is the best for the year. What do you guys think about like Microsoft just kind of putting their foot into the tournament making game a bit more in such a big way?
I think I can answer that.
Yeah.
Microsoft wanted to do that, right? And I
Oh.
think they simply took hundreds and thousands of dollars for ECL, and it was just too long, and it doesn't matter. Like it failed. So for Microsoft, they decided it's way easier if we give money to tournament organizers and they organize it, and that's how they structure it. And it's way easier for them, right? Viewer numbers are through the roof over the years. Microsoft, if they did it, they still had to do like, let's say, open casting. So like someone had to be dedicated, kind of had to be robo then. But if we think about what caster would be claiming, okay, now I'm hosting the world championship. Let's say Microsoft is giving me $75,000. Would I say, now I'm hosting the world championship, but you're only hosting King of the Desert, and you're only hosting Two Pulls, and you're only hosting Hidden Cup, but I'm the real deal? I think no one would have the audacity to do that. So I think it's not going to happen.
Well, Nelson, maybe you have the audacity.
No, I was kind of wondering if let's say someone like Robo wants to get something like that running, and Microsoft does give him the money. What do you think about? I mean, I guess your point is then Robo needs to make sure that there's always at least one streamer ready, one of the top 3 streamers, let's say one of the top 3 casters, always ready to cast the tournament. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't understand the question then.
Okay, let's say Microsoft says, I'm giving Robo money to organize a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Robo is not a streamer, so he needs to make sure that someone is going to stream that.
That wouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
You don't think that's a problem? Okay,
No.
so why do you think someone needs to claim, so this is now my tournament? It would be Robo's tournament.
I think there is too little commitment, right? See how much sellout Hidden Cup gets, how much like month ahead, every single stream, KOTD hype, 49 days to go, 48 days to go, show match, 42 days to go, right?
And that's not happening if one streamer is not behind it.
I want Twitter like, oh, by the way, ECL round of 16 is happening between Alien Farm and VNSC, right? And it's like, unless we kind of you get paid, but are you really
That's
behind
what I wanted
that?
to say. That's what I wanted to say. I mean, and I'm not really trying to criticize anyone for, from the point that you only do it if you get money. But would that be viable? You get money to cast. I mean, you take time from your daily stream to stream the tournament, and you get compensated for that, and you get compensated for promoting the tournament. I mean, these things happen all the time.
That's what we do for Red Bull.
Okay, so why is that not viable for something like Microsoft?
On what channel? On their Microsoft channel, Age of Empires? It's just so tough because they don't have any content in between, right? So it's only like 2 weekends. How do you get the Twitch followers? How do you get the YouTube followers? It's like you aren't used to watch an Age of Empires 2 tournament on twitch.tv/Microsoft or /Age of Empires. Yeah, like that needs some probably like 2 people, full-time marketing and mass amount there. And it's just so easy to just take T90, who already has 170,000 Twitch and 250,000 YouTube followers, right? And if he just puts that into one YouTube video, zack, hundreds of thousands of people know.
I think what I'm kind of thinking about is that I think that could still be doable. I mean, I don't know how much money Microsoft would need to spend extra just to get the promotion going. But I mean, if you get like the tournament, the major of the year, where Microsoft sponsors, I don't know how much money, $100,000. Let's stream a little bit. I mean, everybody would be excited, right? If you make it a 1v1 tournament, who's going to be the best one? And if you guys are getting paid to promote the tournament, as you should, and you stream it on your channels as a commitment, as part of a contract or whatever, don't you see that happening? I kind of see that happening in my mind, and I don't think how that's not viable.
I don't see who's organizing it.
Robo?
I don't see that happening.
Okay, you think he would not be interested in that?
I'm not sure if Microsoft would trust him with, like, let's say if we wanted to make a World Championship several months on their channel with marketing and all the people, that he is the head of a $500,000 project. I don't see that happening from Microsoft there.
Well, he's a Microsoft employee right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
So Microsoft doesn't trust their employees. You heard it here first.
Well, not with $500,000. No. If that's the goal for like the major thing, right? Like yeah, I felt like after I got 50,000 for NSC3, I felt like you're foolish. I probably shouldn't be trusted with this amount, and it's likely that there's a chance that you just threw away lots of money. So I don't know how their structures work, right? But I would be like, for them it's just so convenient right now, right?
So let me ask,
to give T90 75K and he drops 60K viewers.
Yeah, if I may cut in here, so I could tell you my experience as like a new viewer to the community. Like I thought King of the Desert. It's on the standard map. It has what seems to be like the largest prize pool. I thought that was the deciding tournament. Well, whoever wins King of the Desert is probably obviously the best. It's a standard map, and they get the most money. Why would King of the Desert not be considered the deciding like world championship tournament for AoE?
Because it's only one map.
Yeah, one map, and I mean, that sort of thing is always. I mean, even if you get it from Microsoft, and even if this tournament that we are fantasizing about, if it happens, there's going to be disagreements on what are the settings that define who's the best Age of Empires 2 player. And I mean, while a lot of people agree that Arabia should be there for sure, it's a very specific version of Arabia. We got the draft, which a lot of players don't agree with. I mean, I could go on and on. You'll just never get get the kind of settings that everybody agrees with.
Yeah, and we could have like KOTD crowning the best Arabia player, right? It's like, obviously, I think people confuse very heavily winning a tournament with being the best, right? I don't think that Doubt was the best Empire Wars player. I don't think that whatever, right? Whatever tournament. And yeah, but you could make it like the Arabia World Championship. I think I wouldn't mind that as a name for KOTD. Yeah.
So, and it seems like just from listening to the conversation here that a lot of the organizers and top players, like you, I mean, you guys in the same circle, you know each other. You've bumped shoulders before. Why hasn't there been like a push to like come together to make like a deciding event? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it wouldn't crown who's the best, because that's, of course, you have to consider multiple events and factors. But like, why no coming together to say, okay, well, we want to put on the AOE event for the year? Like, what do we think that hasn't been explored?
What on what channel is it broadcasted? On all channels?
Well, I guess that would be one of the issues, but I just I wouldn't know who would get the rights to do it, but why hasn't there been? Well, I don't know. You guys have been in discussions with each other. Has there been any sort of like discussion, or what do you think is the reason why that discussion hasn't come about yet?
Who is organizing it? Where are the benefits, right? It's just,
I guess
so tricky. Just think about it. World Championship. Let's say everyone has open streaming. T90, 40,000 viewers. I have 5,000 viewers. Memp has 5,000 viewers. Lidacore has 800 viewers. Onlu 400. German streamer, French streamer, yada yada. And everyone should do the same for it. Like, who is organizing? And what is, like, if T90 isn't giving his 8 organizers 12.5% that he has to do when it comes to organizing work? Are we saying, no, you are excluded now? It's like well, it's tricky. There's like no even balance with the casters, so working together is tricky.
Okay, I definitely see that point there. MaSmOrRa, do you have like anything to add to that?
No, I just definitely see what Nili's saying, and it kind of goes back to the idea of this one tournament that we had. It's just people have different interests, and they don't necessarily align with each other, right? So this kind of, I mean, they can be friends. All the big casters can be good friends and understand, but they each have their own interests, right? And at the end of the day, that's what counts. Just as Nili says, there's just too many things that need to be compromised there, and maybe no one wants to compromise enough. Yeah, it's just too many interests at play at once, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I do have one more question in my audience bag, and it's from a Redditor called Mountain Goat AOE, and he asked if either of you could touch on, do you think there are just like too many tournaments happening right now? And I could give like my experience, like as somebody who's trying to be like more in the community and just be involved and just like kind of know as much as possible. Like, there's definitely been moments where I've been like, oh, there's this, I just finished like this tournament. I have to like just meant to prepare for like some new upcoming event. What do you guys think about that in general?
Where is the downside of having too many tournaments?
Well, they could be fatigue for the viewers. I mean, you wouldn't want to have a World Cup every
Don't
year.
watch
Like
them?
Yeah, that's it. If I also don't see kind of a downside for that. If you you can always go back, stop watching Age of Empires 2 if it's getting too much for you, and just come back when you want to get your fix again, and you'll be happy that there's enough tournaments running, so that when you come back, there's still competitive matches going on. Yeah, I kind of don't see the criticism there either. The players will be happy. They have chances to make money from tournaments, and if the viewers are tired of Age of Empires 2, they can just watch something else.
Okay, well, those are good thoughts. I'm also happy that we have like so many events. Like when there's so much that you can't see, it just means that there's more growth and a lot more people being happy in general, even if there's some FOMO that goes on now and again from audience members. So that's it that I have prepared. I don't know if either Nili or MaSmOrRa has something that they may want to, just one more topic maybe you thought that we could discuss before we call it a day. Do either of you have anything?
I didn't have anything on my list. No.
No, okay,
Yeah,
good.
me neither.
All right, well, that's great. This has been, the first episode of Strategy Talk. We got through a lot today. We went through 4 topics somehow, and also we touched on things that I think we should have some community discussions up further on. We mentioned Roboboro and that idea that he had, and we also maybe who knows, maybe we have some new ideas for upcoming show matches. I know I definitely want to have MaSmOrRa back on because a lot of audience members were like, this guy sounds great. Why haven't I heard from him before? And other people wants to know like your history in sort of the AoE community, as well as you, Nili. I'd like to invite you on again just to like interview. So, documenting is part of community building as well. So we definitely want to get some of that done. And then, maybe Roboboro wants to come on here and kind of discuss some of his ideas that the two of you touched on. So once again, thank you for coming on, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And this has been the end of Strategy Talk. Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun to see Nili after, I don't know, how long has it been, Nili?
Why didn't you see me? I didn't see you for a long time.
Well, yeah, I do see you almost every day, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I do miss it from time to time, I don't know if I'm breaking some kind of mystery, but T90 did ask me to co-cast with him one game for the Hidden Cup, and I was at first really pumped. I really wanted to do it, but then I just felt like, I don't know, man. I haven't casted in such a long time, and the knowledge is not there anymore where it should be. And it just after one day, told him, "Thanks for the invitation, man, but I just can't do it."
Interesting. Okay, wouldn't thought of that, but yeah. Well, if you ever feel like it, I would love to have you as well. There's just so many old stories that I still want to share with you, and yeah. For example,
the one with the bag, man.
Oh, the bag, yeah.
I totally forgot that one. That's gotta be my most famous YouTube clip.
Yeah,
on,
probably had several hundred thousands.
right?
Yeah, it was
I
on
think
Reddit.
there were even reaction videos to that one. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Does that guy still stream, actually? What was his name?
Yeah, he is Kruparian.
Kruparian, right.
Hearthstone streamer. So what actually happened was we had several casting booths in the Maldives, and we did one, and we switched booth in some way. And Kruparian, like big streamer of Hearthstone at that time, was streaming, and Nelson had his back in the back, and you saw the camera of the streamer, door opening, a hand grabbing the bag and getting out there. And Nelson's just grabbing his own bag, but everyone on stream was like, "You just got robbed! You just got robbed!" And people went bananas on stream.
Well, that was not my bag, in fact, right? It was his bag. But I thought it was mine, and I just remember I think it was his wife or a girlfriend, whatever it was. I think it was his wife. She came after me, and that's our bag. And I was totally, I don't know, I just thought it was mine because I had been casting there the day before in that same casting booth. And I just assumed it was my bag. But then again, I never thought that you could actually see me on the camera. I mean, I tried to be really sneaky, which again made it more suspicious. Oh man, good times.
So yeah, that was a good trip.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think about it? I was just thinking about the viewers. I mean, could you have imagined that we would have 16,000 viewers now for 60,000 viewers for a tournament now? I mean, could you even have imagined it back then?
Well, at that point, we knew WSVG was just getting 3.5 million funding, and like they wanted to do some with Age of Empires. So that very trip, I thought Age of Empires could be big. That it's a complete scam and several hundreds of thousands were flushed down the drain was something we only realized a week later, and that mass amount of people got scammed there. Hallelujah. Luckily, Age of Empires didn't suffer. So at that moment, I actually was dreaming as well. But 60K, yeah, felt unrealistic for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I don't know if Juan Franco is offline or whatever, or if we could just
like reactions are still here. It seems like
I just came back from getting some water. You guys have actually just been talking on the stream. So
we only good things about you. Only good things
okay.
about
I'll
you.
check back the record and I'll make sure of that. So, okay, I'm just gonna hop off the Skype. So
No, don't check.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off the Skype. But thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. See ya. Thanks.